Yo, what's going on? What's going on, Faith? How you doing today?
You know, I'm doing good.
Look, this has been fun. We on episode 3 already.
Yes,
Episode 3, season 4.
Yes.
How you liking the
good.
season so far?
I love the season.
Love
this
the
is
season?
my favorite season.
This is your favorite season?
My absolute favorite season.
Yeah, I feel like it's up there. Got a little bit of drama in it so far.
A little drama, some resolve. I mean, I don't know. I like it. I feel like they're touching on a lot of different elements that we experience in our lives, so I relate to it.
And then so obviously we got Issa, she coming up. She's designing her business, trying to figure out some new relationship things. And we got Lawrence, Condola, got like some new players that are coming to the scene. It's been pretty good so far. So again, if you haven't been with us, this is now episode 3. Faith and I are going through Insecure, and then we're going to be going through the entire season. And so this is the first time we're doing a podcast for this, though. So how you feeling about that?
I'm feeling good about it. I love it.
I'm excited for this, what it's going to look like. All right, you ready to get started?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right, we're going to try to keep this 45 minutes to 50 minutes this time.
Okay.
Because typically we can go to about hour 10, hour 20, something like that. We're going to try. We're going to stay. We're going to do it. We're going to do 45.
We are going to do it.
We're going to do 45. Promise y'all. All right. First question. So to start the scene off on episode 3, we got the Friendsgiving that's getting ready to happen. So for you, do you invite yourself to events if the other person hasn't yet initiated? So remember, she's laying with Lawrence, and Condola's like, oh yeah, we about to do this Friendsgiving because Lawrence wanted to come to a little event for Thanksgiving, and then she said she started going somewhere. And then he invited himself to go in that situation. So for you, if somebody says they got something going on or a significant other and they haven't invited you, how do you handle that?
Well, I'm going to assume that I'm just not invited.
Okay.
But I would probably be like, hey, you got this thing going on. And you would, I would ask, like, is this something that you're just doing with your friends? Or is this something that, like, we're doing together? But I think in their context of their relationship, I understand why he invited himself.
Yeah, I feel like if it's been a few months and then we've been dating and then you got, like, something going on and it's just friends, it's not family. Remember, this is not a mama, it's your daddy. This is your friend. I'm like, oh, hey, what's up? What you want me to bring?
Right.
I feel like I can at least ask that question and put it out there. But what was interesting was she responded well, at least. Like, she didn't say, like, nah, like, actually, this is not for you. I'm not ready for that. And so she set it up and said, like, yeah, it's cool. I just didn't think you want to be a part of something like that. So for you, like, early on, like, when you're dating, let's say, like, a couple months in, do you feel comfortable introducing that person to your friends?
Yeah. I feel fine with it.
Okay.
Also, I feel like for me, just like the context and the place I'm at in life, it's not that big of a deal to me. If I was to introduce a significant other to a friend, but my friends live all over, so the likelihood that that's going to happen to like really significant friends pretty quickly is kind of unlikely. But I mean, if there's people around me that were important, sure, why not?
Okay. All right. So we're going to transition. So now we're stepping up with Lawrence. Now, Lawrence is at work. Then all of a sudden, he finds out that people are getting laid off at his job. So here's my interesting question for you. So have you ever been fired or laid off in your entire life? And the next question, so if you're black and you're working in a majority white space, do you feel like you're less likely to get fired since you're considered the token black person with the company or a corporation?
First answer to the question, no, I've never been fired or laid off.
Wow. So you just always been just doing a phenomenal job everywhere you go. Okay. Even in high school and all that.
Wow. Shots fired. I haven't had that experience. It's just been how life has worked out for me. I realize and recognize that there's just a level of, I think you would say like privilege in that I haven't had those experiences. And as far as, I actually think that like black people and other people of color are more expendable than the white people, even if you're working for a majority white organization, because they're not trying hard to keep us. They're just they're going to protect their own. You got somebody who's like cousins, somebody that that works there that's high up. They're going to want to keep that person on board.
So what about in a situation where, do you think it's possible, or have you heard situations where there's a black person who potentially could get fired, but a lot of white people are worried about litigation or lawsuits or, you're firing me because I'm black? Like, I feel like I've heard something like that.
They're scared now.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Now in 2020.
Yeah, in 2020.
Goodness gracious. Well, since you have always been the perfect professional, I will speak up for those of us that have been fired before at some point in time. Okay. Let me defend myself, though. I'm not going to name the company, but it was a really large company. And this company liked to work a lot of black people. We all worked in this big old warehouse somewhere in the middle of Georgia. Mm-hmm. And a part of my job, like I had to make sure that everything was going where it needed to go on time. Everything was sealed and tight, communication, but I also was still working multiple jobs. And so what happened was I ended up having a little bit of an incident with my supervisors. Now, again, y'all know me. I'm not the type of person that ever give anybody a hard time. That's not me. I'm a Christian. I don't do stuff like that, right? No, I'm just playing. That's a lie.
Okay.
And so what happened was I had an issue with one of my supervisors. And then all of a sudden, like, we get in the office and he and another supervisor basically corner me and they're like accusing me of like not communicating, not saying things. Now, I'm a person that believes in email chain. So you can pull up my phone.
Paper trail.
Exactly. And be like, all right, we clearly had a conversation about this, but he didn't want to look bad in front of his supervisor. So then he ended up trying to blame me and I ended up getting fired. And it was just a whole mess. But honestly, the whole situation was toxic. So as somebody who's been fired, I mean, it never feels good. But you know what? Sometimes like when you get fired, it's just like, all right, I wasn't finna leave that place anyway. And you have to have somebody take you out of that position in order for you to move on and do some other things, because I did not like working like nights at this place anyway.
That's real.
Yeah.
I mean, I think getting fired it's tough. Mm-hmm. It's hard. And I've seen it happen to my dad and my brother. Mm. And so even though I personally haven't been fired, the men in my life have, and I understand like what that does mentally. And our family rallies together and supports each other. Okay. So when my brother was laid off at a period in his life, we all gave him money. We all like gave him money to like help him during that time. Mm. He ended up working a job he didn't love. Mm. And he was just not doing well. And I could tell this is just not the best situation. So I told him, when I get a new job, if I get this new job where I'm going to make more money, I'm going to give you my car. I'm going to buy a new car. So when you come back home, you have a car, you can find another job, we'll make it work. But that's just, to me, what family does.
That's real.
And that's just how it works out. If my dad needs something, like, I will give it. Like, I will make sure that, like, everybody is taken care of. But I definitely was not going to have my brother out there looking crazy. So I was like, come home. We're going to make this work. I'm going to give you money, and we're going to float this till you get
That's
good.
real. Well, that's a good, healthy family support system. When my uncle would come by the house when I was 12 years old, my parents weren't at the house with me, my dad would tell me to hide because uncle's asking for money. So I guess we have a little bit different experiences with that.
Yeah, it's been different for me with my immediate family. I'll say that.
I got you. That's real. All right, so next question. So now it's about going public with relationships. Mm-hmm. So again, we got Condola, we got Lawrence. They're in this brand new burgeoning relationship, but they've never necessarily taken it public, been on dates, but friends really haven't met each other. Mm-hmm. So for you, at what point, maybe how far into the relationship until you can actually go public and share, like, this is my significant other?
You're saying public with friends, public social media?
I'm saying public on Facebook, public on Instagram, public on Twitter, on Snapchat, and then also public with your friends and your family.
I feel like your friends and your family naturally comes sooner just because they're people you talk to in your life. Mm-hmm. And I say sooner as in, I mean, they would just probably know, like your close friends. And then social media, that's a weird one. I feel like you have to talk to the person about that and how private they want to be online.
Okay. So if he said, I don't want you to put anything out on social media forever, like with that, like some trust issues you feel like you might have, or is that understandable? Like, do you care?
I don't think I would have trust issues.
Okay.
I think if it's like mutual, like we have a reasoning behind why we don't want to post it on social media.
If you post it, but he never posted on his page, would you feel something?
I think that would feel weird.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just, he doesn't want to let people know.
I feel like...
But every time you tagged him in a photo, he always removed the tag and all that stuff too.
Then, no, That's crazy. Like, why would you even do that? Then you just don't want to be with me. So I feel like for me, it would have to be mutual between the people. Mm-hmm. Also, though, I'm kind of feel like in the middle about sharing your relationship publicly. Okay. I feel like you have to be really strategic about how you do it, because I only say this because sometimes in today's world, you open up yourself for mass opinions about who you are, who you're dating, everything. So I feel like you kind of have to really protect that space and decide how many people you want in your business. Or if you are going to go public, what things do you actually want to share? Yeah. And I've seen some amazing couples, and it's fun watching their journey and watching them date and get engaged, and it's cool. But I've also seen some people just be like, hey, I'm engaged now. and it's, that's cool too, so I think that it just really depends on the person, but I don't mind being private because I feel like I already have a very public life in general.
You do.
And so I'm okay with it not like having an area of my life that's not up for public consumption constantly.
Yeah. I feel like my love life gonna come like a thief in the night. Just ain't nobody gonna expect it coming. Then all of a sudden I'm just gonna drop it out there for the rest of the world. First off, that was funny. I don't care what you're talking about over there. All right. So for me, I don't mind being public with it, but again, we talked about this last time we talked. I have been in a relationship for 3.5 years. So me even going public about a woman in the first place, that's going to take me a little bit of, I'm going to need to know for sure, like, this is going to last.
Yeah, I hate deleting pictures.
Exactly. I'm not trying to do all that. Like, and then you got to go through the memories of everything.
I hate it. I did it one time and I was like, not doing this.
All right, let's be real. Let's be real. Let's have this conversation. I have been in a relationship in 3.5 years. It's been how long for you now?
3.
Do you still have photos or videos on your phone from your ex? Because even me, it took me about, I would say 2.5, 3 years to get rid of everything. And it wasn't even I necessarily had feelings. It was just like the amount of memories that you built up with this person. It was like, man, I got to let that go out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think it's hard to let go of the memories. But sometimes for me, it's not just like the memories. It's just like the pictures that you have. I think I still find some floating around in my phone just because I have them uploaded to a cloud. And you have to like double delete everything in order to get it all gone. But for me, there's no sense of, what's the word? Like emotion attached to anything. Yeah. I feel like for me, once I'm able to really process something and be done, then I'm done.
Okay.
I mean,
that makes sense.
But everybody processes things differently. So I get why like it takes people time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, photos and letters and all that kind of stuff and like little like, knickknacks people will make for you sometimes. Like that stuff means a lot.
Sometimes I throw some of those like tangible things out.
Right away?
I mean, not too long.
As soon as you break up, they out. Burn it in the fire.
Not like immediately, but I mean, some things like more.
Like how Cleveland did, like LeBron, as soon as he left the first time, just burning his jersey in the middle of the open road and all that.
I mean, if unless it's something I really liked, that's like, oh, this is a nice gift or an object. Okay, that's fine. But then, but handwritten stuff. No.
Well, can you take like an item, like say if your ex-boyfriend bought you like a that Gucci bag, that Louis bag, or something like that you had? Can you carry that over to the next relationship? Like, is that cool? Is that acceptable? Would you tell him?
I mean, I don't think I would say anything. I guess
you wouldn't say anything.
I don't think so.
I got you.
I mean, but I have never had a guy buy me something that expensive. I want experiences more than stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I don't know. But I feel like if it's something you really liked and it was nice, I don't understand why you can't keep it.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
I mean, if you don't tell him, I guess he won't have any mind about it at all.
Yeah, but I guess it's just not even like a thing in my head. Like if it's, I mean, you could sell it.
You could.
You could sell it and get money for it or something.
Think about it. You could sell it and then you could take him out. I'm just playing. Don't do that. That's still better do buying something. All right. Next question. We got, what show are you watching on Netflix right now? Because you see they got a show, an episode they're watching that we're tracking with throughout the whole season. Yeah. So what are you watching on Netflix?
Glow Up.
Glow Up.
It's just like this makeup competition.
Okay.
And I'm not good at makeup and I barely wear it, but I am fascinated by this show and I really love it. And I love seeing people like display their art and I love them talk about their personalities and some of them talk about how they're weird or this is just like their way of expressing themselves. They're introverts. So it's just really cool for me to watch how people express themselves who might not be the kind of people that necessarily fit into certain spaces. And it's just a good competition. So I like it.
Well, I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm just going to let y'all know that if you haven't seen Avatar Aang and Avatar Korra yet, it's on Netflix. Both of them are. I am a huge fan of just cartoons and stuff. My dad kind of passed that down to me. Like when he was like an adult, him and I would just watch stuff on Saturdays. But it's one of the better adult cartoons that you can watch. Okay. So I love like Avatar.
I haven't really watched Avatar.
Just never even. Well, it's on Nickelodeon. So I guess if
I've watched it maybe once or something. But my favorite cartoon is Recess.
Okay, so ABC back in the day. That makes sense.
Favorite kid cartoon.
Yeah, so you don't watch it anymore?
Oh, no, sometimes I do.
Okay, that's cool.
I just got Disney Plus.
You do.
Oh, yeah. So when I got Disney Plus,
Okay, we're gonna have to talk about
the first things I watched.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the Beyonce thing later on too, but
Oh,
that's a whole nother
cool.
segment. All right, so here we go. So really, one of the big themes in season 4 that's carrying over from season 3 is Molly and her relationship with her dad. And again, as some of you might not remember, she found out that like 20 years ago that her dad had an affair on her mom, and ever since, Molly has had this kind of disdain towards her father. But again, if you know the historical reasons why, it's because she hasn't necessarily had a bunch of healthy relationships to pull from. But in her mind, her dad and her mom were perfect. And so this shattered her image of what a completely perfect, functional, healthy marriage looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And so here we are, she still hasn't forgiven him. So like, where do you stand in all of this? Like, if you were in Molly's shoes and you found out that your parents had a tumultuous time in their relationship where somebody had cheated, there was an affair, how would you feel about knowing that now, maybe like 20 years later?
I think it's hard. It's complicated. My parents are divorced. They did have some things happen in their marriage, and it was a lot for me to process, and it took a long time for me to really understand and unravel it all, especially as an adult, to understand both sides, because there's always two sides of a story. So I think, though, I did go through a phase in time, I think, of being upset about some of the things that occurred with my parents and some things that had happened with my dad. But at the same time, I had to learn that I have to give him grace and walk in forgiveness and understand some of the context of his life and what he had been going through. And I also had to do the same for my mom, right? Because I had to realize that there's reasons why in a marriage sometimes things go awry, and it's not always just a one, like there's always two sides to every story. So I think that she's a little hard on her dad because, you know, you kind of have to, especially if, you know, when her mom has like forgiven him and everything, you have to find a way forward. But I also understand her anger and her frustration because I've been there. Like, I remember my dad and I are in an amazing place now, and we've had so much healing in our relationship. But I remember being young and looking at him and saying, our relationship will never be the same because we were so close. He was like my homie. We did everything together, and I felt so disappointed in him. And it took me years and years and years to walk through healing, to be okay, and for us to now be back at the place that we're at, which we did get back to that place. But when you talked to me then, I didn't see a way forward. And I think that's kind of where Molly is at. But I think that's from a place of hurt. When you love someone deeply, when you look up to them, when, especially as a woman, and you want an example, you have high expectations, like, okay, yeah, like I want, you know, to be with somebody like my dad or this, like, and then they disappoint you. It's like, dang, like, are you know, is it like, is everybody just out here being crazy? Like, and so I think some of that is what she's feeling, but I think it's also because she's experienced a lack of commitment, shady relationships, and so she just is kind of like, well, maybe nobody's good.
Yeah. This is a hard one for me because I do understand somewhat why Molly's upset, but I think at that point where her mother had obviously already forgiven her father for what he did, and they had worked through that portion of their marriage. Like, to me as a child, I mean, I can be disappointed, but at the same time, I also think it is a form of like an unhealthy outlook on how people are supposed to be, quote unquote, because I think all of us can look around. All of our parents, whether they're married or not, had some kind of trauma.
Had some kind of something.
Something happened in the relationship. And you know, it's funny for me. So my dad was married to my mom for 42 years. But before my dad and my mom got together, my dad had a couple kids by a couple people, you know, yada, 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 right? And so I remember when I was 14, we were getting ready to go to Minnesota of the varsity football team to go play the state champion in Minnesota. This is like 2004. And I remember my dad told me, yeah, you know, your sister's going to be in Minnesota. I was like, my sister? Like, why would my sister be in Minnesota? Like, she lives in Colorado at the time. And he's like, nah, your other sister. I was like, what you mean my other sister? So my dad didn't tell me till I was 14 that I had like a whole other sibling from like a whole nother relationship when we were kids and stuff. And I think a part of it was just funny. Now, I wish he would have told me so I could have met him. But I think at the same time, it's just like, you know, people had like previous lives. And honestly, it's not really my business anyway. So if my parents choose to share something like that with me, then, you know, we just kind of do what we'll do, you know?
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah. But so here we go. Next question.
I'm ready.
So now, when you're dating somebody, at what point can you invite this person to meet your family, to meet mom and dad, to meet your brothers and sisters? At what point can you invite them over for like Christmas, Thanksgiving, all that other stuff?
So I keep saying this, but I really feel like it depends on the people.
Okay.
Like, I feel like it depends on the two people. How serious is the relationship?
Mm-hmm.
How sure do the two people feel about each other in terms of like, man, like we're really vibing, we're in sync, like this is really going somewhere. And if they also feel like I'm really ready to continue this relationship and it's feeling more like a serious relationship and they want to invite them to their family, I don't think that's abnormal to want to do those things. So let's just say some months, I guess you can say, if you like are settled in with each other. I have a very, I'm a super family oriented person and I have a really close family. So those things aren't like, I don't know. People make these big things like, oh, you're meeting the family. Like, it's not like that for me.
Yeah.
Like, meeting a person's family, to me, that's like discovering a part of who they are. I feel like it's honestly, the sooner you meet them, the better, in the sense that you get to learn a lot by seeing a person's family. And you get to know more about what you're getting into, because you could get serious and you're in this little love bubble and you're not even paying attention to the fact that you got to look at the in-laws. You got to look at the sibling. Like, you got to look at all those people who could potentially be players in your life, because when you get married, it isn't just you and that person in that bubble. It's you and them and their family. Like, it's more than just like, oh, we're just wrapped up.
Would you break up with somebody because of their family?
No, I think it would depend on if they had healthy like ways of interacting with their family.
No, I'm saying their family's unhealthy. They just toxic.
No, but if their family is unhealthy and toxic and that person can handle their toxic and unhealthy family, that's fine.
Okay.
But if you can't handle your toxic and unhealthy family and that toxic and unhealthiness comes over into the relationship, that's when there's problems. You can't control the people that you love in your family, but you do have to have the mental fortitude to know if something comes up that you're going to speak up and address it.
Yeah.
Or are you going to let everything they say like consume you, and then you're like, oh gosh, well, I don't know anymore. Like, I don't know about us anymore, or I'm not sure anymore. Like, that's my only thing.
Yeah, I think that I'd be actually really curious to see what the audience had to say about this, because I think this is a really difficult thing for a lot of people. Because I think I hear a lot of younger to older black men in the back of my head right now, like, bruh, for family crazy, you need to walk away right now, kind of thing. And the reason is, it's like, again, like, the family's toxic, but unless that person has dealt with their own trauma and how that family system has affected them, then they're not going to maybe have an idea of how it's playing out in your relationship. So, like, say, like, you know, right now, first couple months we're good, but then a year in, all of a sudden she's crazy, she's throwing stuff at you. It's like,
well, obviously you got to go.
I know, crazy. But you know, sometimes you don't know. Like, you may not know till you get married, something like that. And I think it's a point of caution. I do think that there is an ability for you to see somebody and love them, and be like, you know what, as long as they have a healthy relationship with me, that's different. I do think that it's going to take a little bit of playing out, because I just need to know.
You have to assess the whole situation.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying like, you know, you want to be in a situation where it's toxic, but I know there's some people who can't control the fact that they might have a screwed up family. And there's one or two things that happen. Either they distance themselves from that family and they're just not close to those people, or they have some semblance of a relationship with them. But if it's toxic, then it's just probably not going to work. I know that that's not my personal preference. Yeah. For sure.
So it's like you could never marry a Cowboys fan then, because his whole family would be. Yeah. Anyway, we'll move on from that. We don't got to talk about that piece right there.
Wow.
All right. So, you know what was funny that I thought was hilarious was when Issa and Molly were at the store, they brought up the whole Dro situation. Look, I know that's not this season, but can you please like just even like give the people like a quick recap of what you were thinking when that whole thing happened? I mean, I'll just start off this question.
Go ahead.
I remember when this whole thing went down, I'm sitting here like, bruh, Molly, if a man tell you that his wife signed off on him stepping out of his whole marriage to be with another woman, and then not only that, but you didn't talk to the wife, that's a no-go. I mean, I feel like that's pretty commonplace for a lot of men to say they're either separated from their wife, they have a bad marriage.
I never believe it.
They don't love them, or in this situation, yeah, we got a hall pass. We can do whatever we want.
Never. I never believe that.
Can't believe that.
I never believe it. A friend of mine was talking to this guy once, and she was like, he said he's separated from his wife. I might as well have been the FBI. I looked at him up, and I said, girl, he's married.
All the way married.
He's married.
Living in
and
the same
she
house.
confronted him, and he was so frustrated and mad, and was like, you're just trying to dig up my past. And I was like, he's crazy. Get out. I never believe a man when he was like, I have a hall pass, or I have a, I'm separated.
Have you been
No
approached
way.
by married men before?
Not that I know of. Let me just say
Not that you know of.
Not that I know of.
See the ridges on that finger though. Like looks like something came off. It's a little ashy where that ring spot supposed to be.
Yeah, not that I know of. Oh, well, I'm not gonna tell this story.
I feel like you got to tell it now. You told the people what was happening. Like you don't have to use the details or anything like that.
There was the very long story short. There was a friend of mine who had a wedding. She was trying to set me up with this guy. She was like, he's amazing. Y'all would be so great together. We were in the wedding together. We had such a great time. We vibed. We danced the night away. He asked me out on a date. We went that night on a date because I'm out of town. I don't live there. We go on a date. Still great. We're talking, blah, 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 blah. He started telling me that there's just some things that he needs to tell me. And he was like nervous to tell me. And I was like, okay. So he ends up telling me, okay, he has some stuff with his immigration status. The name that I knew him as wasn't his real name. It was his brother's name.
Wow.
And because of Social Security stuff, blah, 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 on and on and on. So he comes to visit his family, but he was also seeing me, visiting me in Houston. So he stops by. We were hanging out, having a great time. And then he was like, telling me that he needs to tell me the rest of his news. That, because he had told me things are getting worked out with my immigration papers, da-da-da. I was really enjoying this guy, like really enjoying him. And it turns out he did get his right papers, but he married his cousin.
Yeah.
And he married his cousin to get the papers. He's still really kind, really nice guy. I could not get over that, though. I was like, so you're married? And he was like, yeah, but it doesn't really mean, like anything. It's just for the papers. And I was like, first of all, like, how is this going to work? And he was just like, well, we have a plan. And he was like, I really enjoy like what's happening here, getting to know you and all this other stuff. We weren't really like official yet. It was heading there. And he was like, but if I'm really in something serious, I would, figure out how to, divorce her and get with you. And at the time I had 2 roommates in this house and I had this really tiny room. And I was like, so you want me and you to get together, and what are we supposed to just live in my little tiny room and I'm just supposed to be working for the 2 of us or something? And he was like, well, no, I mean, and I was like, this is not gonna work.
I mean, that sounds like some immigration love though. It could have worked out. You never know. Just give it a chance. I'm sure that would have worked out after 7 or 10 years down the road.
It just was not for me.
No, I got you. That's just not the spirit you wanted to walk in.
Great person. I just wasn't the person to be on that journey. But that is to date one of the craziest things. And this is not surprising. This stuff happens to me all the time. So
yeah.
Is
well,
what it is.
I can say you had me beat on that. I've never had immigration situation happen like that.
It's fine.
Okay. All right. We'll move on to the next question then. I appreciate you sharing that though. I know that they appreciated that story as well. All right. So here's the thing. When I was a kid, I didn't really enjoy family events like that. And but it wasn't that I didn't like my family. It's just there was nobody my age. So it's like when we were all hanging out together, we would eat. I would want to watch football or watch some cartoons or something like that. And they're up there watching like The Price is Right and Gilmore Girls.
What's wrong with The Price is Right?
I mean, I'm saying I don't feel like I'm 12 years old, like an athlete. I don't want to watch.
Definitely watching The Price is Right.
I would rather. There's other things that I'd rather be doing with my time. And so I did enjoy hanging out with everybody, but. It was just like I didn't have anybody that was near me that was my age. Even my sister was 15 years older than me. Oh. So, and then if it wasn't sports, if it wasn't video games, at that point in time in my life, I wasn't all the way interested. But it sounds like you when you were a kid or even now, you love family functions.
Love them.
Love them. Okay.
I love family functions. Now, so in Chicago, when we go home, I have a very, very big family. And so anybody coming home is a reason to get all of the extended family together, and we all hang out, barbecuing, doing a bunch of stuff. We have a bunch of us cousins that are close. We actually have a cousin group chat. There's like 12 of us first cousins. We're all in the group chat together. We still talk now to this day. When we get to Chicago, it's a whole thing. Everybody, we're all hanging out. We're all eating, making plans. We're going to do something fun, seeing grandparents. But even if it's just immediate family, I love family functions. Like this past weekend, my nephew came to visit me. He's 3. We had a blast. We painted, we colored, we did all kind of stuff. We made homemade pizza together because I like activities like that. But I'm just that person. Like I love hosting people, feeling like people are like at home and welcome. I like cooking for people. Like come into my home. Let's just have this fun, warm environment. Like that gives me life. So family functions, anytime to get to be with your people, it's great. I love it.
Yeah, I can agree. I do like them now, I guess, but more so I can dictate the...
When you're younger, I get it.
Yeah.
My brother's also 2.5 years older than me. We're way closer in age, so it's like a different dynamic than 15 years old. Like, so I get that.
Yeah, it was just a little difficult, but I do love them now. I like hosting people and cooking and all that stuff, even though I don't do it for everybody. I mean, I cook everything. My mother was a caterer, so she was a chef. So when I was a kid, she made me start learning real early. I remember I had to go on jobs with her when I was like 5, 6, 7. You know, learn how to wait tables, like learn how to pick up after people, like learning how to like just sort, how to clean. And so she taught me really young how to serve other people. And that's probably one of the things I'm most thankful for now. Like as I've kind of grown and like platform and all that has grown, it's just this ability to kind of step in and just know how to like serve folks and all that. That really comes from my mother. All right, next question. So this was another funny point on the episode. So you remember when Molly's hanging out with her family and they were talking about her making the choices, who she's going to date. You know, she's dating this, you know, Asian dude now, all this other stuff. But then when her mom brought up the part about her sons don't know how to date well. And then the first thing they zero in on is the clear heels. On the baby mama and then on the girlfriend. Is it just me, or is it clear heels are basically the female version of black all Air Forces that you see on dudes in the hood? Is that about the same thing to me?
Sure.
Okay. I feel like there's a comparison.
For some people. I mean, that's not me. I don't have any. But, you know, for some.
I feel like when people see clear heels, they assume either, you know, she stripper or something else like that or whatever else, or she got them at discount shoes somewhere for $4. And then if you see like all black Air Force Ones, you're like, oh, this bro about to run up on somebody and ride somebody kind of thing. So I feel like they both gender stereotypes.
I was going to say they carry a stereotype. I think that's a fair assessment.
I used to like black Air Force Ones. I didn't rob anybody though, but you know, I feel like you can wear them.
Okay, see, there you go.
Huh? All right, so here we go. So Molly and Issa, they have not had an opportunity to talk this entire season. And you can tell that, I think more so with Molly, 'cause I think Issa is just so unaware of how their relationship is going early on in episode 1, episode 2, because again, she's trying to build this whole block party. She's doing all this stuff. Whereas Molly, I think she's questioning her relationships. She's questioning work, and now she's questioning her friendships. So if you were Molly, how would you feel if Issa, again, had promised or said she was going to be somewhere, said you could communicate and talk, knowing you have issues you need to work through, and she had then backed out on it for the 3rd time? How would you feel if you were Molly?
Probably like a little bit frustrated. Just because like you want to be able to like, you know, talk out whatever the issues are. But at the same time, I mean, I know they had a tradition, but it's Thanksgiving. And she was with her brother. Like, and then what is she supposed to do? Leave him by himself? You know, like, and all that stuff happened with their, you know, their moms do, you know, I don't know. So I feel like with Molly, she's just not communicating. If that's the theme of this season, like up till now, she's not communicating. And she just is, it's becoming this like built up anger and frustration towards Issa. Like, okay, fine. You know, instead of at least trying to like text out some of what you're feeling. Like, hey, okay, it's cool, you can't make it, but these are just some of the things that I'm feeling. So that way, like, she's at least letting some of it out. Because I really do feel like in this season, Issa's so focused on, like, some things in her life are going right and just trying to get her own self together that she's not picking up these, like, breadcrumbs of frustration. Also, Molly's being very passive-aggressive. I really cannot stand when people are passive-aggressive.
Me neither.
Shoot straight. Don't do that. You know, there's a lot of things we could do. That's just one that I just prefer we not.
And I think Issa too, I think if the audience remembers, first through season 1 to season 3, she was not in a career situation that she enjoyed.
Right.
She had always been working at this place for like 5 years now, and she had finally been in this position where she was becoming established. And not only that, she's trying to make a brand. Like she's trying to build something that is going to affect thousands of people with this block party. So again, if you're not a natural entrepreneur or you haven't taken a chance to build something, you don't really know what that feels like. But
right.
there's a lot of weight that you feel every day. So I think with Issa, not only is she finally finding her groove, but she had never had the kind of career success that Molly had. So now she's tasting it for the first time. So there are a lot of things she wasn't doing. This is the least amount of relationship drama that we've had with Issa since we started season 1.
But see how her life's flourishing when she's not focusing on a crazy dude.
Mm-hmm. That's a lesson for a lot of us, ain't it?
Well, I'm just saying. Sometimes you have to focus on you.
Exactly.
And also make sure you're in the right headspace to attract the kind of person you want.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you're not in that headspace, like you're more apt to make reckless decisions.
That's true.
I'm saying that from experience. Like I can look back on relationships and be like, I was not in a good place.
Yeah.
You know? So I just think that she's finally like Issa is finally in a place where she has like mental fortitude to focus on what she wants to do. Mm-hmm. And Molly has always got things easier. Like, and so in this way, Molly's having to be like, okay, like I'm in this successful career, but I don't know if I'm fitting in this office.
But also, let me be clear. Issa does have somebody around, Mr. Security Officer, but that's not a relationship. That's a transactional relationship they have going on. Anyway, so we need to bring that up. But to your point, though, she is more focused than she's ever been. And I think what's happening is now her relationships, because remember, Molly has said for the last couple of months, she feel like things have been off. Well, for the last couple of months, what has Issa been doing? She's been building this brand, working on the block party. So I think a part of this is Molly is just, now she's having to restructure her life and her expectations from Issa, because Issa used to be drop of a hat, always there for her, but now she can't. And I think Molly, and again, because Molly is such an internally focused person, she doesn't necessarily recognize the social cues that, hey, maybe I just need to like let her know like how I'm actually feeling and communicate that. And I think even, again, like when you're trying to get something done with somebody, like unless I let you know, like specifically like why I need to talk to you, like what I need to talk to you about, or even just the urgency of it, that person will never fully know like what something means to me. And again, that's not just with friendship, that's with significant relationships as well. Like if I have an issue with my lady, I need to let her know like, hey babe, like there's something I need to talk to you about, because I feel like there's something about our relationship right now that's making me feel either unloved or unheard or undervalued. And she needs to know that, because if she loves me, she's going to want to make those corrections, at least hear me out on what she needs to do or what I can do maybe to be able to communicate that more to her in the future. Right. But that's just not, as we see with Andrew, that's just not a thing she's developed yet in her behavior. But, you know, anyway. So, remember, when Issa told Molly she wasn't going to be there, she said, do you. Mm-hmm. Do you, boo. You ain't got to show up no more. So, now, in this situation, what about you? Like, what are some of your words that you have that when you're agitated with somebody and you just got a phrase to kind of just end the conversation or whatever else?
Okay.
What's that mean?
I think that I would, I was trying to think about that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe like, I don't really know, honestly. I'm trying to think. It's not, maybe like, okay, period.
Okay. I'm a you got it person. Like, you got it. I ain't gonna worry about it more. Like, you got it. Like, 'cause again, if I
feel like I can also use the word got it in two different contexts.
Yeah.
Got it into like, I get it for work, whatever. Mm-hmm. But if it's something else, then maybe I would say that. Or just like, or I'm just short, or I send an emoji. For sure. You know what I mean? Like, instead of like, you don't get a long, fluffy answer from me, I'm just kind of like, thumbs up, cool, whatever. And then I would say that might be more than anything.
Okay. Well, Faith, I appreciate you making the time, talk through this. This is episode 3. We're on a great journey so far. Like, we have more to go. So again, you can expect next week when we're back with episode 4. So Faith, thank you for making the time today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.